All right, so here we are, week 3, day 4, and this is our history test. So we've taken one science test today if you've done the one about the seed vault, or maybe you haven't and you're just working on this one. This is the one about Jonas Salk, who is the guy who came up with the idea of using dead viruses to give vaccines, as opposed to some people who were giving the virus with the vaccines with live viruses, and they were killing people. So I'm just going to read these questions for you. On the last seed one, I did the answers with you, and I can do that again, but I want you guys to just really think about the process that we're going through. What was the name of the foundation that gave money to Salk to research polio? And if you don't remember, go back and look. The guy talks about it being the NFIP, which ended up later being, what did they say the name of the company? It was one that what it's called actually to this day. And it was fascinating because, that would have been in yesterday's reading. Week 3. Anyway, I want to say, what was the name of it? I can't remember what they called it now, but it's the NFIP. So NFIP, right here, the infantile paralysis. So B. Can't remember what they said it was called now. Why did Salk believe that killed virus vaccines were safer and more effective? He believed in his team. He knew that the other researchers were wrong and would take too long to make the vaccine. A killed virus could never give someone polio. Or D, he was stubborn and believed that his method was the only correct method. Actually, he did believe in his team. That's not true. That's true, but it's not the reason why he thought it was better. He knew that the other researchers were wrong. That's not true. He knew that a killed virus could never give somebody polio. And they talk a lot about this in that book. So I hope you guys are really reading them carefully, which is just like the COVID virus. They have to make sure that there's a virus that's dead that is not going to make anybody sick. Which of the following means a test of a new product in its intended situation to determine if its effectiveness it's a test to test a new product in its intended situation to determine its effectiveness. Is that a field trial, an epidemic, a placebo, or immune? It's a field trial. It's the first thing. Epidemic is what's happening with like if everybody in one country was getting sick. A placebo is something that makes you think you're taking something to make you feel better, and the immune system is what your body does to fight things off, and how your body heals itself. Who did Salk test after he tested children who had survived polio? His family and co-workers, monkeys, children with polio, or children who had never had polio? Who did Salk test after he tested children who had survived polio? His family and co-workers. That was a big deal. I remember reading that and thinking, wow, this guy really believed in what he was doing, because he knew that if it isn't going to make these kids who had it, he would make sure that his family had it was a test. And it said right here, when Salk was sure he had a safe vaccine, he vaccinated himself, his family, and his co-workers in the lab. So that just shows my evidence. Why did the author of this book write this book? Was it to inform readers about how to develop a vaccine for polio? Well, clearly we can't do that, so that's kind of silly. To inform readers about how Jonas Salk's contributions to the fight against polio. So I'm going to put a dot there because I kind of think that might be part of it, but I haven't read enough. To persuade the reader to get a polio vaccine. No, but if I didn't have one, I'd probably look into that. And to entertain readers with a book about the history of polio. Well, we all know that's not true because nobody picked this up because they wanted to. Me minus me. Most of you are being told to. So I'm going to say to inform readers about Jonas Salk's contributions to the fight against polio. And unless you were like reading this on your own and nobody did, so I'm going to say it's definitely B. What caused the parents to be frightened in the spring of 1953? Oh, my stars. Well, if you do not remember, that would have been in the day one's reading about Jonas Salk. And it talked about what had happened the year before. People were really sick. So let's read what it says. Their choices. Polio had sickened nearly 57,000 people the summer before. B. There was a new disease that no one knew how to fight. C. Children were missing. Creepy, but not even in the ballpark. They didn't want to quarantine their children. What caused parents to be frightened in the spring of 1953? Polio had sickened nearly 57,000 people the summer before. They talked about that, and they also talked about how over 3,000 kids died from polio that summer. So, it's A. When was it announced on the radio that Salk's vaccine was safe and effective? Oh gosh. You know, I have to tell you, reading that was definitely in yesterday's reading in week 3, and that was the part that really cheesed me off, because how people treated him because he didn't thank everybody. Well, and I get that, but he'd never done anything like that before. And it's so, when was it announced? It says right here. On April of 1955, millions of people listened on the radio to the department, and Francis announced that the NFIP meeting that the vaccine works and it's safe. So when was it announced that Salk's vaccine was safe and effective? April 12th, 1955. D. Number 8. What was the problem that caused the first distributed vaccine to be suspended? Oh, okay, so right here they talked about things going wrong, and let's read the answers. It says the vaccine had caused a new strain of polio. Nothing about a new strain. Salk was not happy with the results. A manufacturer had not killed the virus properly. The vaccine did not work at all. Right here it says that they had not killed the virus properly, which is horrible because then people died from it. Jeez, check your testing. So C, nuts. How old was Jonas Salk when he graduated from high school? I will never forget this because he was 16 when he went to college. So how old was Jonas Salk when he graduated from high school? He was 12 when he went to high school. Isn't that crazy? Well, that's actually interesting because that means he actually spent 4 years there. So 12 going to high school. I wonder if he got picked on. Anyway, what was the author's main purpose for writing the Arctic... Oh, jeez. Wrong page. Flipped it the wrong way. Clearly. Which of the following defines epidemic? Okay, well, that's kind of one of those things where you can just, if you want, take your thing, look up epidemic. The rapid spread of disease within the community. The rapid spread of disease within a community. So it's not isolated, it's not outspoken, it's the rapid spread of disease within the community. And it says, so right in this fancy thing called the glossary, when you look at the glossary, it says right there. Use that. Now, extended response, number 11. Why was Salk never awarded the Nobel Prize? Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. It says use 3 details. Number 1, number 2, number 3. I am not going to write these down for you because I want you to use your own words. But remember, it said right here on this Nobel Peace Prize thing, I'm not going to lie, super irritated about this one. He was never awarded the prize because it said many scientists agreed that said Salk's work was kitchen chemistry. He didn't discover anything. Salk was one major polio researcher that was never elected to it. Salk received thanks from his country and the world for saving thousands of people from the crippling disease. People thought he did, but it's because he never thanked his people, the people that worked with him, and they said he took too much credit for it. Not gonna lie. It says right here, because he never thanked him for it. He forgot to mention the names of his team members. Forgetting to give his credit to his team members angered many scientists. Some never forgave him. Seriously? I don't really know about that. Unless he was getting tons of money from it. It didn't sound like he was. So it says at least 3 details from the book to support your answer. Then explain whether you believe or not he should have received the award. Yes, he should have gotten the award. Yes, he should have. Because we use the method today. So I said, yes, he should have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize because he found a way to save so many people, and we still use these methods today. So I don't have time to go over all those parts, but I really hope that you take your time and think about it, because this is the part, like, so somebody didn't say thank you. I mean, that's not, he could apologize, and you don't know that he didn't, but some people to harbor such an angry thought over that, not really cool. And still, we use this method today. I really hope people think about that. And then number 12, what factors made it difficult to work with the polio virus? Oh my gosh, their technology was so dated. I would probably list 2. Dated technology, people, the lack of communication. I mean, you think about back then, you'd have to phone call people, and that didn't always work. And their technology was okay at best. Nothing anywhere near what it is now. But, I mean, there were a lot of things, that if you got it, it wasn't like, oh, shoot, they have the cold. It was like, oh my gosh, they're paralyzed or dead. So, I don't know. Anyway, look through your work, make sure you've done a good job, and nice job for week 3.